Howdy, folks. It's Caleb from Bailey Hill Build, and here's a video of how we have constructed our home's exterior walls using this rough cut lumber. We used larch 2x6 in lieu of pressure treated. That is accepted by code, and as you can see, we've got our sill seal down prior to. We've marked where our anchor bolts are. We've got this bottom sill plate all ready to go. We're nailing the studs to it, and I'm going to take you through a video. I had a GoPro on my head here and just kind of jump through some of these sections that show the different parts of how a wall is constructed and stood up and fastened. So stick around and please like and subscribe.
All right, we need two 6'8".
Oh, turn the volume off here. So first thing we got to do is cut our studs that get nailed in between the top and bottom plate of the wall. And what I'm doing here is looking at the board quality, making sure there's no major wave or inconsistency, any major crown. And if it is crowned, we try to keep them crowning in the same direction. I probably haven't done very well with that. Honestly, it's something I can improve on next time I do it. But really, these boards they're freshly sawn. They're green, wet, as you can see from that sawdust. They're heavy. This is hemlock lumber from a local mill, as the crow flies, about a mile from me, which is pretty cool. We're getting all of our own lumber sourced locally. So, we're in Jasper, New York in the southern tier, and we have this ability to build with rough cut lumber. If you're in a city or suburb, you're going to have a hard time probably passing building code using rough cut. You just need to check with your code official. So I'm going to speed this up. So I'm just squaring an end of the board over here and cutting it to length. I cut two trimmers. Trimmers are or jack stud are the studs that basically carry your header over an opening. So that's why I cut those at 80 inches, 6'8". That's the typical height around my house here for the trim studs. And I like to keep all those at the same elevation so all of my window heads and door heads align. So as you can see here, I'm just lopping these off. Morg's helping me get these cut, and we'll fast forward a little bit here. So we'll get to this section where I've laid in that trim stud next to a king stud right there. And I can explain more once I get to a better view, but I nail those together first. And I zip right down through there and nail those off good. A nail probably every 12 inches. I was kind of alternating back and forth different sides just to try to get these nails to hold really well. You want this section, this is the most important piece of the wall to hold your openings. What I'm doing here is put my knee on that to make sure that the boards are flush. With rough cut, you get a little bit of inconsistency, probably more than you get with conventional lumber, kiln dried. So I'm just doing my best to keep everything flush. If you can, make sure you flush it to the inside of the house. That way when you do your drywall, you have more of a consistent plane. You don't have a lot of ridges and things to fasten your drywall to. So Morgan's just helping me line this up. Again, I'm going to do this other trimmer and king. As you can see that trimmer? See, it's shorter than the other king stud. That's where my window header will set in. I'll stop right there. King trimmer. Between the T and over here is the other T. That's the window opening. See, window. And I have another video on this, folks, if you want to check it out. How to mark out your plate. Basically, that's the hardest thing about building a wall is understanding how to mark the blade out. Once you have this down, you just cut your stud lengths and you just put them on the lines and nail them. So pretty straightforward. You get the gist. I'm nailing these together. So once you have these nailed, then you can start kind of popping them. Load my nailer up here, popping these onto the bottom top plates, and get to a section where I can show you that. Definitely rough cut lumber. Still got the bark on that edge a little bit. There is, I think, a code officials don't like to see that, and they want to see center part of the heart of the tree, kind of. But there's really low percentage of that in this lumber pile. Overall, I've been very pleased with what we have gotten from our local Amish friends here in Jasper, New York. So shout out to them. Yeah, they work really hard. They're different lifestyle, but I've never had a problem with any of them, and certainly will be buying more lumber from them in the future. So as you can see, Morgan's just lining these up. I don't know what she's doing wearing Crocs. I think that's what I'm talking to her about now. How the heck are you working in Crocs? But anyways, we just line them up with the lines on here and put 3 nails in each board. So on this window king and trimmer, I'm going to do 3 in each, so 6 total. I got a DeWalt 20-volt framing nailer here, shooting 3 1/4 inch framing nails, ring shank coated. Works really good. Those things hold really well. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, than carrying a hose around, not listening to a generator or pancake run all the time. It's not quite as fast, but I'm not a professional framer here. I'm doing a little bit at a time, and for us, it's really convenient. So if you're looking for a framing nailer and you're not doing this day in and day out, I think that'd be a great tool for you to add to your arsenal. So again, the concrete sometimes can warp your boards. So see how that's a little bit off there? I'm just going to lift this board up and keep it flush on the inside. Again, that'd be better for your drywall surface. So fast forward through this. So I'm just nailing the top now. I nailed the bottom, so I'll zip right down through here. And the top's easier to nail because everything's tighter. So it usually goes pretty fast. And if you have a helper, someone could be lining them up, and just the other guy just zipping right down through and nailing them off. So we're at 9 minutes here, folks. So far 9 minutes and almost got this wall knocked together. Not too bad. Morgan's wearing her Steelers shirt proud. I don't know. They're pretty bad this year. So now what we're going to do, we got everything nailed together. This is the next step. You need to pull a diagonal from corner to corner of the wall. And that number, whatever you get, needs to match. And if it doesn't, one corner of this wall could be longer or shorter. And if, for instance, if this is shorter, a measurement from here to here versus here to here, you need to make this longer and this shorter to match. So if this is an inch shorter, you would hit the wall. You would hit it this direction to make this point longer. You'd hit it a 1/2 inch, so it would match. So that's basically the gist of it. I use a sledge. Morgan will stand on one corner to try to hold the wall so we can flex it. This one was off pretty good, so we had to hit it a few times. And once you get everything where you want it, you got to be very careful before you put your sheeting on. You want to get the sheeting on. There's Dad helping getting that on there and get everything squared up, flushed up. And then nail a corner and then check everything, and then nail up the edge, both edges. And that'll keep that from pivoting in a sense. So I'm going to start here, nail here. I'm going to go up this edge and down this edge, as you'll see here in the video. Occasionally I get a misfire on this DeWalt framing nailer, but most of the time that thing's been pretty rock solid. Haven't had any problems with it at all. No oil required. I don't use the bump feature. I just I'll let her charge up and then hit the trigger, and it buries the nail pretty good. It's adjustable. You can change the depth of the nail. So really, I should probably change the depth when I'm doing sheeting. And I'm shooting 2-inch or 2 1/4. They're probably a little too long anyways for doing sheeting, but changing the length of that nail, you really should manipulate that little yellow screw there to make sure you're not shooting those sheeting nails too far. They're not going to hold as well. So you can see I just missed one. But hey, another point, tip, OSB has two sides of it. One side has these lines. If you go to my previous video, I showed you how to lay out a wall. Part of that video shows you how to lay out on a 16 or 24 inch on center, which is the typical construction layout. That's what these lines are for. This is a 16 on center. This would be the other line in the middle would be your 24 inch mark. So if you're doing a wall that's 24 on center, you use this mark to that mark. But since I'm doing 16s, I'm using these marks, and that helps me once this wall is built, know where my studs are without snapping a line and finding them. So that's just a tip. Use that side if you want to, if as long as you've got 16 on center consistent, it works pretty good. I didn't really split my seams here because remember I have a window. I got it in fast forward mode for all you folks that might have vertigo. I'm sorry in advance. But remember, I have this window here, so I really don't have to split the seam because I'm going to cut this out. So pretty much get everything squared up. Oh, you missed the good part. Now we're going to stand this wall up and prepare to brace it. So we got it sheeted. Now let's tip it up. Get a few friends. And before I go any further, we snapped red chalk lines all the way around this thing. And on the previous video, you'll see this. I have a pretty darn good idea where those bolts are because I've pre-drilled them. And so when I lift this wall up, it pretty much falls right on top of those bolts. So if you're careful and measure and take your time, when you lift this wall up, there's not a lot of reefing, not a lot of manpower to get this wall where it needs to be. So there's a little bit of adjustment once you get it up in the air. You see Dad's kicking the one corner in. I'm going to go outside in a minute and I'll get a couple bars, and pry them. Here we had to hit the wall down. So this is a unique scenario because the wall had to go to the farthest. It went past. Hold on, I'll show you. This wall had to go past the other wall. It didn't butt in. So this is a unique scenario, but it's good to show you because sometimes you got to use a block and a maul to get the wall where you want it, something this heavy. Okay, I'm going to pause it. So this wall actually stops short of the corner. So this wall we just stood up needs to go past. This exterior side needs to flush out with this exterior point. So this wall goes past this wall rather than this wall carry all the way to the corner and this wall just butt into it. The wall we just stood up, if that makes sense. So what I'm doing is I'm hitting this wall down, and you might ask, how you doing that if the anchor bolts are in the way? Well, I put blocks underneath the wall, so as I'm hitting it, it's just skidding across those blocks that are taller than the anchor bolts. That's how we did that. It actually worked pretty good. But, in a big construction crew, you'd probably have a lull or some type of a device where you can pop these walls around really easy. I have the Bobcat, but it's more screwing around, honestly, I think, than just getting a few people and lifting the wall up and getting it in place. See these blocks? I had these blocks out here. They're just skidding along. So I'll fast forward. We're going on 19 minutes here, and this wall is a struggle. Couldn't get it where we wanted it, but now I'm working on this sill seal. Now I wouldn't recommend doing this. I stuck my hand underneath that wall. That's probably not a smart thing to do. But I was pretty confident the wall wasn't going to come down on me. So I'm using a small crowbar and a bigger bar, and I'm basically prying that wall in and out to get it over those anchor bolts and to get those blocks out of there. You get that sill seal where it needs to be. They can grab it, so make sure it's under touching the full plate. Another tip on the sill seal, folks. There's multiple different kinds. This isn't the best kind in my opinion. This is Owens Corning sill seal. I bought it for a 2x8. Typical construction, you're using the kiln dried lumber, conventional lumber, which is actually 5.5 inches in a 2x6. It's actually 5.5, or 2x8, 7.5, 7.25. So this pink stuff, if I've got 2x6 conventional, it wouldn't have touched the full 6 inches of a rough cut. Rough cut is actual 6 inches. So I had to go up to the next size, which gave me a little overlap, which is good anyways, because I could have a little bit of inconsistency with the sill seal and make sure that's touching my bottom plate. So once you get that up there and you get it where you want it, you put your nut and your washer down. You crank these right down nice and tight until it just starts dimpling your bottom plate. You don't want to over tighten these things. The point is that if you had any uplift from wind or lateral movement, that it has a lot of meat on the bottom part of the wall to hold it. If you sink those things down in there too much, it's not going to hold. So you want them tight, but you don't want to over tighten either. Really, I could have done this with an impact. I just did everything with a crescent wrench. I probably would have saved myself a lot more time if I went and got the socket set or an impact, but here we are. So anyways, tighten those down, and then you can see, here's a good view, what I showed you earlier. I had to hit this wall this direction. I had to hit it that full 6 inches. That's what took so long. If it was different, I would have just, it would have butted into this space. Would have been a heck of a lot easier. So anyways, what we're doing now, I'm getting some screws started to toenail into this plate, and that'll help hold the wall. And then we'll get everything plumbed up here in a minute. Just getting some screws started. So yeah, it's pretty easy, people. It's not difficult. Yeah, it's not easy work. You got to be able to use a ladder and use tools and use your hands, but it's not perfect either. This is one thing I wanted to show you. Let me back up. See this? This is rough cut. You're going to have 3/16 of an inch where it's not right. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's ever going to know. And I just bought this lumber for a quarter of the price of Lowe's, and it was locally sourced. And I didn't pad the pockets of the rich, so I'm very thankful we live in an area where we can do this. It's been a lot of fun to do it. I think more people need to think about using rough cut. I don't know why the market has everyone always thinking about using kiln dried. Yeah, it probably is stronger because it's kiln dried and it's a process and there's a lot of engineering behind it. But at the end of the day, I think I'll have a pretty solid built house that'll last me a long time. And look at it this way. Look at all the old homes that were built 70, 80 years ago that are still standing because they're built with rough cut lumber, logs. I mean, it's not like this is a new idea. This has been around longer than kiln dried lumber has. So if your building codes allow it, I think you should really look into it. Yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's kind of a pain in the butt to work with, but do you want to spend 4 times the money? That's the main question. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this video was helpful. This channel is here to show people how we're doing things that could hopefully save you guys money and um, you know, unnecessary work down the road, or paying someone to do it when you can do it. Everyone, has a dream to do something, and they say your dreams can come true if you work hard, and that is the truth. And this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but we've almost got this house shelled, and it hasn't been that bad. So, um, just keep grinding, keep dreaming, and it'll get there for you. So, again, please like and subscribe. It helps our channel. It helps the amount of people who can see these videos. We're trying to help people, and hopefully, we get more subscribers, and we'll definitely have more videos. So everyone, take care, and please comment or send me any or emails or anything if you have any questions, and I'll be glad to reach out. Take care.